What are the three main components of three-tier architecture? Database server, web server, app server, right? DB, app server, and web server. These are the three main components for three-tier architecture. Now, what is the purpose of database? To store the data. Just give me a second, guys. There is okay. Fine. We know like how this client-server communication happens. There is a website, and you are interacting with the website as one of the user. And the website takes help of this web server, application server, and database server to provide the services to the end users. That's what the purpose of the website. Assume like abcbank.com or abc.com. This is the website. Whatever is a request you send from one of the users, I say like user 1, user 2, and user 3. You send a request, you get the response, and depending on the kind of application, banking application or health insurance application, based on the request, you get the details that are required for that request. And the business logic is implemented in the app server. But along with this business logic, they try to implement some APIs internally. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Already we discussed about the significance of API. Why? So whatever the website you launch, right? Say for example, altromutual.com is there. This is a test banking website. Am I correct? This is a banking website. The front-end technologies, whatever we see, right? Like be it HTML or CSS or JavaScript, those are meant for only interface, user interface, how attractive it should look. That's it. But internal business logic is implemented either with the help of the code or with the help of the APIs. Okay. Directly you can interact with the database server, application server, or you can interact with the help of APIs. Already I had shown you one of the good example, like normal lorry, how it looks like. You can consider this, the functionality can be implemented with the API. The main purpose of, but beautification means you get the user interface. This one you can consider it like an API, and you build the UI which looks very attractive. That can be considered as a web interface. Web interface versus internal implementation. Internal implementation is done with the help of APIs. I'm just comparing with the layman terms to make you better understand it. Now, tell me some of the operations for altromutual.com. This is a banking website. It can be abc.com or xyz.com or insurance.com, whatever it is. If you consider a banking website, already we had discussed a lot of practicals on altromutual.com banking website. What all operations we can do? Try to list out one operation or activity from everyone. Transfer funds, yes. We can view account details, okay. Before transfer funds, before view account details, you can do the login. Am I correct? The second one is view account details. The third one is transfer funds. Then log off, feedback. Like this, there are many operations. These operations can be done either directly by calling the business logic. You can implement as a developer, you can implement this functionality. Log off feedback, you can implement directly by writing the code, or you can write the code in the form of web services. Web services in the sense web API. Let us see how these web APIs are constructed. I'll take one operation. The first operation or first request is login. The web technologies are just for user interface, how to look, how beautification it should be. Okay. Username is jsmith demo 1234. When you log in, it generates one session ID. That session ID gets authenticated, right? Login. All of you log into your altromutual.com and then message me the session ID. I don't tell you how to capture the session ID. Already we discussed in all our previous batches, previous classes. What is the session ID in your account? Take 5 minutes of time. 5 minutes to go, another 3 minutes to go. What is the session ID of altromutual.com in your application from your system? Today's session is very important in the sense, just with this session, with this one class itself, you can crack a job. That is, the job role is API penetration tester. They hire candidates only for doing penetration testing. And the tool we are going to learn is the Postman tool. I got response from Kirti. You need to inspect, refresh the page, and then check the session ID. Okay. Another 1 minute. You inspect the page, then select the network tab. This is very important for API penetration testing. You should know how to capture the session ID. You click on any other tab or refresh the page, you can see the requests that are hitting the web application. Okay. You are under network tab. Click on any of the link. You can see there are two session IDs. One is J session ID and Altro accounts. Basically, these are cookies. Each cookie is meant for a different purpose. And one session ID, J session ID or N session ID or simple session ID, PHP session ID. Mostly those IDs will be allocated for maintaining the session between client and server. This is the value which I have been asking for. Okay, this is in case of web application. How about in APIs? How do you do performance? How do you do penetration testing with the help of APIs? Just with the name, don't get confused or don't get worry. Don't worry about like whether you can do penetration testing for APIs or not. It is very simple. Very simple for doing penetration testing. How to perform that? When you get a request, instead of directly hitting the application server where the code exists, if there is some kind of business logic for APIs, the request will hit the API. And that request will be forwarded to the application server where these APIs are implemented. It will perform its duty and gives a response. Login is a post method and it is able to retrieve the session ID. Assume like you are trying to view account details. The request is from the user to it is view account details. View account details you are trying to perform, and there will be one API within this server to perform that operation. Is it a post operation or get operation? What do you think when you are trying to view some details? Post or get? When you are trying to see something, you are trying to pull some data. It is a get request. Okay, just remember that. The web application internally calls these APIs and the APIs will perform its duty, and depending on the kind of request, if it is a get request, it will try to list all the details. In case if the web application is not available, assume like web interface is not ready, still you can drive a lorry without the UI, right? So there are some tools that are required for you to interact with these APIs. One of the best tool and more commonly used tool is Postman tool. This is the tool that is mainly used for REST APIs, REST, and even SOAP APIs also you can test using this. But explicitly for SOAP, there is one more tool called SOAP UI. SOAP UI is used for explicitly for SOAP services or SOAP services. It is also called web services. There are a lot of APIs are there. It's not like only the REST or SOAP. Even WSDL services are there from Microsoft. If you want to test that, you need a tool called WCF test client. This comes with Visual Studio. Is there any developer here? If you install Visual Studio in your system, you get small exe that is called WCF test client. And with the help of the test client, you should be able to test these ASP.NET WCF WSDL services, web service description language. But don't get confused of all these tools. Just learn only the tool of Postman tool. Other tools will be of similar fashion and it will be very easy. If you just wanted to know the names, SOAP UI is one tool, WCF test client is one tool, and Postman is one more tool. Now we are going to practice about the Postman tool. How to send a request, how to get a request. Even if you don't have the UI, you can make use of these APIs for checking the functionality of the application, how that it is implemented. Remember, if you are doing API testing, first thing you should ask for the developers is request details. Send me the API request details for each and every API. API request details, you need to ask for the developers or the client. Without that, you cannot do penetration testing. You should know like how developers has implemented. For example, view account number is there. You need to know like what are the list of inputs that has to be provided for that specific API, or the list of API requests can be grouped into some collection. It can be like JSON collection or Swagger link. Something is required at least to frame a request. Without framing the request, you cannot do the API testing. Okay. Now we are going to construct each and every API and see how it works. First thing, you need to install the Postman tool. How to install the Postman tool? All of you launch Google, then type Postman tool download. That's it. Click on that. Click on the first link. Scroll down. Windows 64-bit. Most of you might be using 64-bit version of Windows. Click on that. The tool will be downloaded and it will be installed. I have already installed it, so I'm just downloading it. I'm not going to install it. Very simple. I think this is the simplest work which anyone can do it. Confirm me once you install this Postman tool in your computer or in your system. I'm expecting a response in the chat window. Say yes or done once you are done with the installation. Del, Bhaskar, Arun, Ramprasad, Venkateshlu. Magbul, Mohan, Sabi, Venkatesh, Madhav. Anyone else? Last 2 minutes. Kirti, Rajesh, Prashant. Shomashekar, Ekant, Shahla, Jeevan. Last 30 seconds to go. Okay, last another 3 minutes because it is taking time to download for few members. Whoever has already downloaded, launch the tool and keep it ready. Okay, so you need to just go to the start menu, type Postman and click on that Postman, or you can click on open. The tool will get launched. I'll wait till everyone installs it. And there are 3 minutes. Very important. The moment you see this tool, don't be like, don't worry or don't get scared. You're going to do a lot of complex jobs like that. It is very simple. You just need to know like what is the input, what is the output for each and every API, and how to frame the request. All the companies will have these API penetration testing, but only few, I can say like 10-20% knows how to test these APIs. You might be hired only to test the APIs. It can be for functional testing or it can be for penetration testing. Tool is there to perform any kind of API testing. API testing can be done for any kind of applications. It can be for web applications or it can be for console applications or web services, whatever it is. But you should know how to give the input for each and every API. Let us take one application which is available open source. So far, you have tested altromutual.com only as a web application. Assume like website is not there. Only APIs are there. APIs in the sense Swagger link. The first reference which I am giving for you to do the penetration testing is Swagger link. There is a REST API link. Click on that. This is the Swagger link for the altromutual.com. It will vary for every website, and it will not be exposed to the public just like the way how altromutual is designed, but it will be there internally with the developers. You need to ask for the Swagger link, or you need to ask for the JSON collection, JavaScript object notation. In Swagger link, they would have defined like what are the inputs to give for each and every API or each and every method. So they have implemented the methods of login, account, APIs for login, APIs for account, transfer, feedback, admin, logout. So these are the different methods they have implemented for altromutual.com. Consider there are under login API, there are two methods. One is check if user is logged in. Other one is login method. Can anyone guess what are the inputs we have to provide for this post login method? What are the possible inputs we have to provide for login method? Input in the sense there is a request, right? The request that hits to the application. The details, definitely it is a login method. We have to provide username and password. The naming might be different for each and every application. Click on that. It will list you the input details. What are the things you have to provide? Scroll down. And there is a request body. That request body consists of username and password in JSON format. This is called JSON format. Name value pair combinations. This is the name and its value. Name colon and its value. Name value pair of name value combinations is represented in JSON format. So the input request consists of only these two parameters, and it is in the form of JSON. That's it. Now, how do you test this one with the help of Postman tool? First, try it out in the Swagger link itself. There is an option called try it out. Click on try it out. Scroll down. So input is there, username and password, and it is a valid credentials. And click on execute. It got executed, and what is the result? You can see the result is 200 code, which is success, and it says JSmith is logged in. That is correct, right? I'll try to change the input. Scroll up. Instead of demo 1 2 3 4, I give demo 1 2 3 4 5. Scroll down. Execute. Scroll down to check the output. We are sorry, but the username or password was not found in our system. That is correct, right? We don't have that specific password for that user. How to perform the similar cases by using the Postman? You need to construct this API request. To construct the API request, we should know what is the endpoint URL or request URL. This one is required. And what is the input? Input can be request body, or it can be token, or whatever it is. Let us take about this login method for now. We need to provide this request body for post method, and it is a post method. You can see that here the post method is there, and this is a login URL, and you need to provide all these headers. Go to the Postman collection. Sorry guys, I have already created one collection. I'll create one more collection here. New collection. You can click on this plus symbol, or go to the APIs. You can select new. When you select new, it will list you a lot of options. Don't worry about all the options. If you are creating a collection, click on collection. If you are creating an API request, click on HTTP request. First, I am trying to create the collection. Give some name for the collection. What name do you want to give? API collection, and we are trying to do the practice for alter. Enter. That's it. The collection is created. You can view the collections under collections. Sorry. Altromutual new collection. I'll delete this new collection. I don't require now. expand this collection. As of now, there are no requests in this collection. The collection is empty. You need to create the request. Add a request, click on add a request. You need to give some name for this request. First request I am going to give is login for alter row. Right, that's it. And it is a post method or get method. Go back to your Swagger link. Login is a post method. So select post here. Instead of get, select post. What is the request or endpoint URL? This is called request URL or endpoint URL. Go to that link, Swagger link. Either you can select from this request URL, select from request URL only. Select, copy, paste it over here. Then, excuse me guys, 1 second. Now, we have given the request URL, we have changed the method. What else we need to provide for this login method? We need to provide the request body. What is there in the request body? Just scroll up. This is a format or the input parameters that has to be provided. Just copy that. Go back to the tool, place it under body. There is a request body here. As of now, nothing is there. Select raw, paste over here. It didn't copy. Okay, hold on. Select and paste over here. Now, what else? That's it, right? We have selected the method. We selected the endpoint URL. For this request, there are no other parameters. You scroll up, parameters are only the request body. I have provided it. And if the credentials are correct, we get the valid response. If it is incorrect, we get these values 400 and 200. 500 also there. Maybe like if you provide incorrect details for the URL or some other invalid details, you may get 500 error. Click on send. Bad request. What it is saying? We are sorry, this username or password doesn't exist in your system, which means that you have provided invalid credentials. Give valid credentials. Demo 1 2 3 4. Click on send. Okay, it has been successful and we are able to see authorization token, and it says the message JSmith is successfully logged in, and the response code is 200, which means 200 is for success. Always remember that any kind of 500 error codes are considered as defects or vulnerabilities. After login, already we discussed in session management, only during the login we provide the credentials. After that, if you want to perform any other operations, we need a session ID, right? This is the session ID which we are going to use it for further calls. Shall I try one more API, or do you guys want to try for login now? Provide invalid details, it provides some 400 error code. Valid details, 200 error code with the success message. Do you guys want to try now, or should I show you one more API? I'll show it for one more API. Let us take transfer funds. Okay. Swagger link. Scroll up. You can minimize this one also. You guys try it for check if the user is logged in or not. You need to, what are the input parameters? Only the token. You need to provide the authorization token to check some user is logged in or not. That you try it by yourself. Account details also you can try by yourself. This is for practice, for your practice. I'll try for transfer funds. There is only one API method under transfer. So there are two things that are required. One is authorization token. that is one header, and then request body. Authorization token means the token which is generated upon successful login. They even mentioned the same thing, provided upon successful login. We know that only during the login we provide credentials. After login, we make use of that session ID or the cookie to perform other activities. So what should I do? First, I'll click on try it out. Even if there is no try it out also, even if there is no option as such, you can frame this request. Only thing is you should know the request URL. Developers or client will provide those details. I'll try to give some invalid token for now. Token is there, assume 1234. This is a token. Click on execute. What is the response? 404 unauthorized conf pers JSON. Logged in is equal to false. So we have provided an invalid token, but I am able to get the request URL. Select that request URL, copy, go back to the Postman tool. One more request I'm trying to create under API collection. Add a request. This one is for transfer, right? You name it as transfer funds. Hyphen altero. I'm just giving some name. It can be anything. If you don't know about whether it is a post request or get request, it will be there in the documentation or in the Swagger. This one is a post request. Select post. Request URL I have already copied. No. So we need to provide request body. Along with that, token also we need to provide. What does the request body contains? Scroll up. This is a request body. From account to account, transfer funds, transfer amount. Copy that. Just like the way how we did for login, you need to give it for transfer funds. Paste. That's it. But there is one more parameter which you have to be giving for transfer funds, that is authorization token. Token, always remember, by default it will be there under authorization. As it is authorization token, it is under authorization. By default it is under inherit. Inherit means it may try to take from parent method. Here we don't have any parent method, but it is just a token. Select bearer token and you provide the token that is generated earlier during the login. So do we have the token placed earlier? Login for Altro. It has generated the token, right? Session ID. Copy that. Go back to the transfer funds. Copy paste the token value under this. Got it? So I have set the token as one parameter, which is part of request, and then the request body I have updated. You can provide any details. So by default, I copied 2000. I select 1200, right? Or 11 rupees. 11 rupees. If you want to transfer 11 rupees. Now that's it. The request has been framed. Click on send. It shows successful message. 11 rupees was successfully transferred from account to account and so on so date. The same kind of message will be displayed when you try to do it from the web page. So even without the web page, we'll be able to do this penetration testing. Okay. And if you want to do the penetration testing, you can try like different accounts. If you want to do SQL injection vulnerability here, instead of 11, give 11 single quote. That's it. Internal server error. That's it. We got one vulnerability. Always remember 500 server issues or vulnerabilities. It can be low or it can be for information. If you are getting 500 error code, it means that your input was not valid. Your input was not proceeded, or the server was not able to process your input for 500 error code. Okay. Send. This is the success case. Now go back to the Swagger link. Scroll up. There is an option called account number. view account details. Authorization token you have to provide, and account number you need to provide. Okay, these two things are required. You can do it by clicking on try it out. So before we do this, what I want is everyone try to perform this login method and transfer funds and confirm me. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Later I'll tell you like uh, how do you intercept these requests by using Burpsuit tool. It is not like every time you modify some details here, check the response. It will be tedious process, right? We'll take this request to the Burpsuit so that we can play with Burpsuit includer. That I'll show you later. First, frame the request for these two methods, login and transfer funds, then confirm in the chat window. 7 minutes to go. Session ID you have to provide under authorization. Okay, and select bearer token. Out of all these things, you need to select bearer token. Any doubts, anyone? Try these two APIs. One is for login, other one is for transfer funds. Try to transfer with 99 rupees, 100 rupees, or it all depends. It doesn't matter. Give some valid account to account from account, and you should be able to get a success response. Another 4 minutes. Try to finish and confirm me for login and transfer funds. If you are done with login and transfer funds, next try for view account details. Go to the Swagger link, select try it out, and then view account details, and then even try for is the session valid or not. Check if user is logged in or not. You provide some valid session ID, it says user is logged in. You provide some invalid session ID, it says not logged in or invalid session ID. Okay, logged in or logged out. This is the message and this is the code. Postman login details. J Smith demo 1234. Abhinesh, getting error logged in is equal to false. You need to provide the valid session ID, token ID. Okay. I'll try to download Burpsuit community in my Windows. If you want to do it in parallel, you can do it as well. Provide your email ID to download this Burpsuit community edition 2022.3 is the latest one. Download. You should know how to capture this Postman request to the Burpsuit tool. Then only like you can try for more scenarios. All the payloads, you can just load it in the Burpsuit intruder, just like the way how we did it for web application. Some of the interview questions that are asked are like, have you performed API penetration testing, web services penetration testing, API testing? Say yes. Of course, you will say yes only, but the challenge is, how did you do it? How did you do it? You should say like, I have used Postman tool along with the Burpsuit. Postman is used to construct the requests, and then we will be able to check those APIs. First, we'll check for 200 response code. Upon that, we'll try for all the native scenarios. And some of the attacks which we can try using Postman tool are injection attacks, authentication issues, authorization issues, rate limiting, mass assignment, improper functional validation, functional authorization, improper asset management, logging and monitoring issues. These are all the OWSP top 10 vulnerabilities of APIs. I'll give you a walkthrough of that so that it will be easy for you to tell in the interviews as well. API penetration testing. Burpsuit community. Try to install this tool. $200 is success. It means that you are successfully able to test the API. So far, we have tested for altromutual.com. For other applications, the API request parameters might be different. You need to frame the request. That is the only challenging part for API penetration testing. Download Burpsuit in your base OS if it is required for you. So far, we have intercepted only the request from the web application. Now we should intercept the request from the Postman tool. That's the reason I'm trying to install Burpsuit community in the base system itself. Finish. Burpsuit community is installed in the Windows system. Try to launch it. Type burp. You should be able to launch the tool. What is the proxy IP address and proxy port number? Anyone? If you want to configure Burpsuit, we need to configure the proxy port number and proxy IP address. What are the default proxy IP address and default proxy port number? Reply in the chat window. 127.0.0.1. Okay. And proxy port number is 8080. I have launched the Burpsuit. Go to the proxy. By default, it is off. Check the options. 127.0.0.1 and 8080. It is already configured in the tool. Now I have to configure. Where should I configure? Browser or Postman tool? If I want to intercept the request that is coming from the Postman, should I configure the proxy settings in the browser or in the tool? Which one do you think? I'm trying to intercept the request that has been triggered from tool. So you need to configure it in the tool itself. How do you configure? For example, I want to try some scenarios for transfer funds. Instead of directly invoking this request like this, I'll try to configure the proxy. How to do that? There is a settings here over the top. Click on the settings. And here we have general shortcuts, data, certificates, proxy. Click on proxy. Scroll down. By default, it is using the system proxy. Select add a custom proxy. And I'm going to enable 127. One. 127.0.0.1. Port number is 8080, right? Uncheck this, not required. Options has been set, proxy options. Click on close. Burpsuit is also configured to intercept the request. As of now, it is off. I'll turn it on. Go back, send this request. It has come to Burpsuit. That's it. From here, I want to check process script vulnerability for transfer funds. What should I do? Right click, send to intruder. Go to the intruder tab. It has selected three positions as of now. I want to select only transfer amount. Clear everything. Select only 11. Click on add. Now positions and then payloads. Payloads for this position, what are the payloads I have to give? You can give like 11 single quote, 11 double quote. This is for SQL injection. For a SQL, for process script, I'll give like this. At a time, I'm going to try for all the vulnerabilities. Script, ending tag of the script, alert of 1 to 3, enter. And for OS command injection, I'll try to give like colon. Where is this colon? Host name. We know all the different payloads for each kind of attack. Now that position is set and payloads are set, click on start attack. The first one is 11, it is correct. Other ones is giving 500 internal error code, which is a vulnerability. That's it. This is how we need to do the API penetration testing. Very simple and very easy to do. Only thing is you need to frame a request. Frame a request in the sense, the way how I have framed the request for login, transfer funds. The details that are required to frame this request will be given by the developers or the client. Even if they don't give, you have to ask like, can you provide me the API request details, or can you provide me the Swagger link or the JSON collection? Without that, remember, without the JSON collection or without the Swagger link or without the request details or any kind of documentation, it is not possible for you to do the penetration testing. You should know how it is constructed. This is all about API penetration testing. Any questions, anyone? Is it clear? Understood? If you join as a cybersecurity engineer or VAPT engineer, there are few projects where you have to perform only API penetration testing. If you are doing functional testing, the functional testing also will be done in the same manner. You just need to validate the response code, response message, text, everything. All of you try to list OWSP top 10 vulnerabilities for web. Top 10 vulnerabilities are there, right? Can you guys list me in the chat window? OWSP top 10 vulnerabilities for web. Very, very important concept. Already we discussed this, all this OWSP top 10. You can choose any of the link or tutorial. The same list will be there. Okay. Injection attacks, broken authentication. This is for 2017. We want 2021. Go to the wasp.com website, scroll down. There are 3 new vulnerabilities that were added as part of 2021 compared to the 2017. Insecure design, software and data integrity failures, and server-side request forgery. These 3 are the new vulnerabilities. And the list of vulnerabilities are broken access control, cryptographic failures, injection attacks, insecure design, security misconfiguration, vulnerable and outdated components, identity and authentication failures, integrity issues, logging and monitoring failures, server-side request forgery. Just like the top 10 vulnerabilities for web, there are top 10 vulnerabilities for APIs as well. Even those APIs top 10 also, there will be some kind of overlap between this web and API of this top 10. What are the overlap ones are like? Mostly you can see the authentication issues, authorization issues will be similar even in the API. Then logging issues also will be there. Outdated components will be there. Broken access control. There we name it differently, but similar issue also exists in the OWSP top 10 of API. Apart from that, there are some specific vulnerabilities which are existing only for the APIs. Those are like lack of resources and rate limiting. What are those lack of resources and rate limiting? I'll give a walkthrough of each and every vulnerability of this OWSP top 10 of API. Okay, just remember one or two lines for these things. If you are able to answer these ones in interviews, that's it. Your problem is solved. You will be able to get the job. API security top 10 vulnerabilities. Broken object level authorization. This is similar to the broken access control of web. So basically, when you see a request like this, you see some parameters, right? What are the parameters? You have transfer amount to account, or in the URL also, sometimes you may get some IDs. You try to modify these details and check if you can check if you can access any other user details or not. Okay, that is all about broken object level authorization. Broken object level authorization. Broken access control is in the web application. Did we cover any vulnerabilities for broken access control in case of web? If yes, can you tell me the scenario where we have gained the admin access or the other user access just by logging in as a normal user? What is the application and how did you do it? The application is ultramutual.com. Do you guys remember? JSmith is able to gain admin if you are trying to override the session ID, access control mechanism. Okay, non-admin trying to do admin access. We discussed about horizontal privilege escalation, vertical privilege escalation, insecure direct object reference. All these comes under broken object level authorization. In web, we call it broken access control, and in API, we call it like broken object level authorization. Broken user authentication. Can you guys tell me what is vulnerability that will be similar in the web for broken user authentication? What is the corresponding WASP top 10 vulnerability for broken user authentication? You see identity and authentication failures. Identity and authentication failures. The same thing is there in the API as well, broker user authentication. Excessive data exposure. You are trying to invoke the request and you are trying to get the response. Sometimes instead of giving only the relevant details, it may list you some kind of additional details that will come under excessive data exposure. What is the next OWSP top 10 vulnerability? Lack of resources and rate limiting. We have already discussed about rate limiting. What is meant by rate limiting? Did I cover any scenario? Can you list me? Rate limiting. In which scenario did we discuss rate limiting? If rate limiting is not implemented, what kind of attacks will occur for the application? Come on, guys, be quick. We are left with 5 minutes. Nikanjan says login attacks. Uma Shrikant, brute force, DOS attacks, buffer overflow. Yes, exactly. All of you are correct. If there is no rate limiting, attacker can try for 100 requests, 1000 requests to perform the brute force, or he can continuously send some invalid request to make the application down. That is because of lack of rate limiting. What is meant by lack of resource limiting? Resources means instead of giving the applicable size for the request, you try to provide more data or large number of variables, lengthy variables. That also will be a problem for these APIs. Those are called lack of resources and rate limiting. Broken functional level authorization. This is also one of the access control mechanism vulnerability. Broken functional level authorization. Basically, this will concentrate more on the application groups, application roles, hierarchy, internal implementation. The one broken object level authorization is, just give me 2 minutes. There is some noise here. Broken object level authorization, that will be concentrated more on the parameter values. Means in the request you see some id is equal to something, customer is equal to something, account number is equal to something. So these kind of issues will be concentrated towards broken object level authorization. Broken functional level authorization means you need to understand the application business logic. You need to know what are the different roles in your application and different hierarchies, groups. Based on that, you come up with some kind of a workflow or functionality where you can observe some kind of privilege escalation issues that will come under broken functional level authorization. What is meant by mass assignment then? For your application to interact on the client side, there will be some kind of a JSON data, client data that has to be processed in the server. Okay, it has to be processed to some of the data models. So this data might be having some kind of different properties, attributes, or permissions. What happens is the attacker tries to get some kind of attributes or try to guess some kind of client side data and process it, so that these data models will process the client side data, and which can lead to some kind of vulnerabilities that will come under mass assignment. To answer this in a very simple fashion, client side data has been processed to the data models without proper validation, which will lead to mass assignment. That's it, very simple. Client side data is processed to the data models without proper input validation or without proper filtering. That is all about mass assignment. Security misconfiguration, we have already discussed about what is the significance of response headers, what are the significance of cookie attributes, or any kind of other configurations that will come under security misconfiguration, which is similar to the web application. Injection attacks, can all of you list me what are the different injection attacks we have tried for web application? Try to list in 30 seconds. SQL injection, okay, then OS, command injection, cross-site script injection, LDAP injection. All these injection attacks you can try it in even for APIs. Injection flaws such as SQL, NoSQL command injection occurs when untested data is sent to the interpreter as part of command or query. That's it. If you want to read more about each of these vulnerabilities, no, you can go through this list. Improper asset management. This will be similar to the outdated components. What do you mean by outdated components? If you're using some older version of some software, similarly, like if you're using any older version of the endpoint URL or the API versions, that would lead to this improper assets management. Asset means what? Some kind of a software or some kind of an API or application. You can read this. APIs tend to expose more endpoints than traditional web applications, making proper and updated documentation highly important. Proper hosts and deployed API versions inventory also play an important role to mitigate issues such as deprecated API versions and exposed debug endpoints. Improper asset management is all about using deprecated or older version of API versions or endpoints. That's it. Very simple answer. Insufficient logging and monitoring. You should know like whatever is the activity the application has been doing for the end users. We have to be logging those activities from the application or from the network. This is all about insufficient logging and monitoring. These are the API top 10 vulnerabilities, which are very important from the job perspective. And the tool is Postman tool and burp suite. You should know how to intercept the request using the Postman and then processing that Postman request in the burp suite tool. We are done with API penetration testing. Can I get a confirmation from everyone? Say yes if you are good, or if you have any doubts, let me know. Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to conduct one more session that is more on to the like how to prepare for the jobs. It is not like a technical session. The batch which was finished recently, the current batch, I'm going to tell you like how do we qualify for the screening round, and then how do we what are the things that you should be familiar before getting into the job. Those things mostly on Sunday, I guess. I'll keep you updated by evening 4 o'clock. 1 hour session, that's it. Mobile security I'm going to cover in the next weekend, because this week I was completely occupied for some other priority work. And Sunday, should we do, you guys prefer Saturday or Sunday? Most of you are saying Sunday. Whenever there is requirement for API penetration testing, first try it out the way how I have tried. Don't directly get the laptop and keep in front of me. You have to try it out. Try. If you are not able to do it, then definitely we are here to help you in case if you get stuck for any kind of assessments like this in your applications or in your company. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Hold on. Let us see some of the job opportunities for API. What are they asking for? There is a company called Ajus. They're asking for web application security and API security, then thick client. Perform web application and API security testing. You should not say like you don't know API. You should say like, yes, I'm familiar. I can do the work on APIs. Very simple job role. Whatever I have discussed over the course. Sysbits. 1 to 4 years of experience in application security. Web application, thick client, mobile, API, and network. And along with that, you should have good understanding of TCP/IP. All of you remember, right? TCP/IP protocols, port numbers, OSI, TCP model. Good to have one certification. Try to take up CH certification in case if you guys want to. It is always advantage if you have the CH certification. Right now we are running an offer for 28,000. We don't know, anytime it may go up. Outside they charge you 35 to 40K. In Hackerbook you get it for 28,000 itself. Nine days back they have posted penetration testing security engineer. Check out flow API as well as GUI, API testing, dashboard testing, all the payments flow. Is there anything special which we haven't covered in all these job roles? I'm sure like 80 to 90% whatever they're asking for has been covered in our job. SSL handshake, TLS handshake, DNS, DHCP. Okay, then I think we are good. I'm sure like most of you have already given the reviews for us in the Google. In case if you have not given the reviews, please provide your feedback in the Hackerbook reviews. The next batch is going to start from June 16th. If you have any friends, try to refer them. They have to fill a form. Unlike before, this time like they have to fill a form so that we'll keep a track of those people who are willing to join the next batch from June 16th. And for the current batch, most probably in the same time we are going to conduct the Java and Selenium by a different trainer. I'll keep you posted within 4 or 5 days about those timelines. Okay, thank you so much. We have some more sessions. Mobile security, SAST, I do cover in the weekends. Have a great day. Bye bye. Yes, Navina, what is your doubt? Let me give you permissions to speak.